Hello, I'm attorney Louis Haskell at the IRS Nationwide Tax Forum in Orlando, Florida. One of the major themes of this tax forum is that the IRS is getting a whole bunch of money and they want to talk about what they're doing with it. One of the things that they're getting a lot of money for is enforcement. And so it's good to attend an IRS tax forum because it's nice to hear the IRS talk about what they're interested in. But being a trial lawyer who speaks Orwellian doublespeak fluently, it's also interesting to hear what they're not saying and to hear the things that slip. One of the disappointments I've had in this tax forum is that there's been an unusually small amount of training about how to deal with an audit. That seems strange given that there are a lot more audits happening. There is in fact only one class in this entire forum that actually deals with dealing with the IRS when your client is being audited. And mercifully, that class was not taught by an employee of the IRS, but instead by a private CPA. And I say that because he said at the start of the class that audits are coming. They're coming for our clients, which means not the multimillionaires and billionaires. And he said, and in fact, they're already starting to get here. And then he asked, show of hands, how many of you are noticing that you're receiving more audit notices now than you've ever seen in your careers? And every single person in the room just about raised their hand. And then he started telling stories about people who he knew who are saying that they've received more audits in the last few months than they've received in their entire careers. It's already happening. In addition, there was an IRS speaker. Now, this was at a forum, and she was the lead for what IRS is doing with all of its new enforcement money. And while she spent all kinds of time bragging about how they're going after the millionaires and the billionaires and the complex partnerships and all like that, she also mentioned how excited she is that they're going to be standing up a whole new enforcement agency within the IRS just to go after pass-through entities. And she said specifically, that's trusts, partnerships, and subchapter S corporations. And she then said, and this is not just in the large business international organizations area, but also for our small business self-employed areas. They're coming after all of us. They're already coming after all of us, and they're going to be standing up a whole new agency within the IRS to come after the small businesses. We all knew it was going to happen, no matter how much they said when they were passing the legislation that they weren't going to do that, and it slipped. That's exactly what they're going to do. Now, we're prepared for that. In fact, one of the better classes that I took actually had to do with bulletproofing small businesses. It actually had to do with small business documentation. And this has been kind of a theme of mine with my clients really forever, is that they need to document better. But this is going to be a bigger point of emphasis of mine going forward. And let me be clear, I'm a tax preparer, I'm not an auditor. If my client comes in and hands me a profit and loss statement, and the profit and loss statement looks, reasonable, I'm just going to enter it. I don't audit the tax return. I'm not demanding the documentation, but I am going to be going over with my clients this year, more so even than in the past, where I think I've been particularly proactive, certainly more proactive than most, the need to stand up this documentation, the need to keep better records. Because one of the things that have come out throughout the various seminars that I've been taking here is that where most businesses, where frankly most people get in trouble, most cases that go to tax court, most cases that go to audit, and where the IRS has successful audits, the main problem is not tax fraud or blatantly breaking the tax laws. The number one problem that taxpayers have when they get into IRS's crosshairs is they can't document their expenses. And keep in mind, the Internal Revenue Code begins by saying all income is subject to tax. The rest of the Internal Revenue Code, all those thousands of pages, are the exceptions to what you might not have to pay so much tax on. But to avail yourself of those exceptions, you must be able to demonstrate that you're entitled to them. And these entitlements are huge. They're worth a lot of money. And the IRS, when they're after you, is there to take them away. This is going to be a major point of emphasis with my clients this year, just to make sure that they are bulletproof. Just as my preparing their return, make sure that they're bulletproofed on the other side, that everything has been done correctly. Thank you.